Hey, in this video, I want to talk about Halloween, how to not eat the entire bowl and feel frustrated with yourself and why it's important that you just don't. Okay. So we're going to get all into that. Number one, we're going to talk about how to enjoy your weekend, whether or not you celebrate Halloween at all, right? It doesn't really matter. We all know chocolate bars are around for those that celebrate or don't celebrate, right? So we want to talk about Halloween, right? We're not going to, so one, how to enjoy your weekend, whether you celebrate it or not, because that chocolate is just around. And number two, what you need to know about seeing what happens, right? Have you ever said that to yourself? I'm just going to see what happens this weekend as your plan for the weekend feasting. And so as usual, if you want my Halloween cheat sheet so you don't have to worry about taking notes and trying to remember all this juicy stuff by Sunday, because Sunday is light years away when it comes to staying on track, right? Usually it's like, okay, well, it's Tuesday, Sunday. That's like forever away. And so right now, let me know below if you want the cheat sheet. All you have to do is put in the comments, let me know your favorite Halloween candy. And do you like candy corn? I feel like my son was like, Mom, I want candy. I think he saw candy corn in a book. But I'm like, I don't even think that tastes good. But maybe there are people that like that. Anyway, or maybe it's just your favorite chocolate. Let me know below and I'll know that you want my cheat sheet. Anyway, so as you know, Halloween is upon us, okay? So who here already has piles of chocolate waiting in your house? And if you're here, feel free to say hi. I'd love to hear where that you're here. Say hi, where you're from, and also, like, do you already have piles of chocolate waiting in your house, or do you have piles of chocolate at your work, right? So even if you walk into a grocery store, there is tons of chocolate that's going to be staring you in the face for the next few weeks, right? And then it's going to be super cheap on November 1st. So we have all that to consider, right? And so I can remember so many Halloween saying, I'm just going to have one, right? Or maybe two. And then that would turn into, well, I'm just going to have one of every kind. And there would be like 8 kinds. And then that turned into, well, there goes the bowl. Oops. Right? Now, first of all, I want to say that I'm not all about avoiding the chocolate all weekend long and using willpower to keep your hand out of the bowl. What I am all about is always eating with awareness, making a choice ahead of time that you like, that you're happy with, and following through with what you had planned. This is what matters. And so who here has made plans like I did in the past? I'm just going to eat one, or I'm just going to eat 2. And then you negotiate with yourself until you realize there really isn't any more to negotiate here. The chocolate is completely gone. Or you've ripped through more mini bags of chips than you'd like to admit, right? All right, so here is what you need to know. You can have your chocolate or chips and eat them too without going overboard. It is possible, without feeling regret and without promising to start your diet again on Monday. And so who here is maybe already tempted, let's be super honest, to say, I'll just start over on Monday when Halloween is on a Sunday, right? It's like, whatever, we have this day, we'll just indulge, but then tomorrow we'll get started again, right? Or maybe you're thinking, I'll just hope for the best and see what happens. Who cares? All right. So, but I want to ask you is that how do you want to show up in your life? And do you think it would be acceptable to say this in other areas of your life that are important to you? Your job, your marriage. I'm just going to see what happens. I'm just going to jump in and see how it goes, right? Or do you want to make goals and commitments and be so aligned with your reasons for making those goals that you delete the whole sentence, I'll start over Monday, from your vocabulary? Maybe you struggle with a lot of joint pain or inflammation, or it's been harder to move around with extra weight that has started to pile on and has been noticeably harder to keep off or lose. So is saying, I'll start over Monday, really what you want to be saying to yourself so often or at all? Really, think about that for a quick second, okay? Do you love that you are so familiar with that? I mean, that was something I said daily, right? I know it so well, so I'm not pointing any fingers. I understand where this thought is coming from, and it's coming from a place that wants to be in the moment, enjoying immediate gratification, and it doesn't really want to think about the consequences that follow, okay? And so I don't really think we truly want to say, I'll start over Monday as often as we do, or at all. I think in the moment you enjoy, just like the rest of us, the dopamine hit that sugar does to our brains. I think that your brain loves feeling the reward it gets when it sees you feel good while you eat it. I think that it's super easy for our brains to do exactly what we have done every other year around any holiday, any celebration, Halloween, right? And what have we done every other year? Eat all the things, feel regret and shame, start over tomorrow, right? Maybe you can relate with this. I like to think of our brains like a computer. It processes information, it creates shortcuts, it tries to be super efficient, which is actually really good for us. The only problem is that the shortcuts that have been created are not they're not serving you. So your brain would rather use these shortcuts rather than creating a new way to process your experiences because it's faster and it's easier and it's less work on your brain. And so, my friends, the weekend is approaching and you might start asking yourself, all right, how is this gonna go, right? Like soon it's gonna be here. How is this gonna go? And you think, I'm gonna do things differently this year. Well, I will not eat too many. I'll be reasonable. I'll only eat a few. I will avoid it altogether. I'm going to restrict myself. I won't have any. Whatever discussion you're having with yourself, I'm assuming it's not that you're not thinking, I'm going to eat myself sick, then judge myself and promise to never do it again, right? Or is that usually what we think, right? It's just kind of like this background noise that's actually there, even though what we're saying is, I'm going to do it differently. Right? But what we are usually left with is I'm going to eat myself sick, judge myself, and promise never to do it again. Right? I only know this because I've gone through that quite a few times. Right? The ladies in my program have gone through that quite a few times. Right? But let's pause here and take a look at what's happening. On another brainwave you might not be paying attention to what's happening over there. Let's take a look. So we just covered what you might be asking yourself going into the weekend. Like, okay, I'm going to do things differently this year. I will not all of these different things. But let's look at what answer your brain is gearing up to give you because it wasn't really paying attention to what you had decided. The whole I'm doing things differently this year. It wasn't listening. But here's what it was saying instead. It's saying, I love shortcuts. So what did we do about this whole chocolate themed event last year, right? It's just going to say, okay, I just love making things really efficient. So I'm just going to look, what did I do last year or the year before or the 38 years before that? Well, we shoved our face full of chocolate. We ate until our stomach hurt. We promised just, to cleanse it away tomorrow or that tomorrow would be different. Okay, cool. Let's just do that again. So that's actually just kind of the process that your brain is working on because it's easier. It's a shortcut. Doesn't have to process new information, right? Shortcuts. Your brain has already processed how these events go. So why would it try to do anything differently, right? This is your brain being efficient and not wasting time processing new information. Although I'm going to guess, go out on a limb here and guess that you actually don't like this, right? That shortcut is kind of the worst. Like, okay, let's just rely on what happened last year. And last year I just ate myself silly. So I'm just going to do that again this year? Like, brain, come on. That's not the shortcut I want you to take. But up until now, maybe you have blamed yourself for simply lacking willpower. When your brain is actually just working correctly, it's being efficient because it sees that you've survived up until now. Why would it do anything differently than this? Okay, so I see that there may be some frustration here, right? And maybe you're wondering, how do I ever change this if my brain has literally created shortcuts to me sabotaging myself all the time? Good question. Okay, so here's the answer. You upgrade your brain. You give that old system a reboot. I like to call this positive brain reprogramming. Okay, you give the system an upgrade and trade out the old way of thinking for a more efficient model that will do the job quick and get you the results that you want without the consequences of regret and shame. And here is the most important part. This teaches you to follow through. And why do we want to follow through? Not because you don't want to gain the extra calories or weight, although your brain might be saying, I want to follow through because I don't want to gain weight and I don't want to eat too many calories, right? Right? But actually, the way I really encourage you to see this, why we want to follow through for ourselves is because in order to lose the weight and be able to maintain it, you need to actually learn how to do two things. One, create an amazing relationship with yourself. And two, you have to start respecting the decisions that you make for yourself. You have to dig in and ask yourself, why do I want to follow through? Why is it important to me? Why do I want to not repeat what happened last year? I make my clients ask themselves why they want their impossible goal like 5 times, because a lot of times the first answer we give is kind of an easy, right? An easy, I want to feel good. But asking ourselves why over and over and over helps us dig a little bit deeper, because I promise you there is a much bigger reason that you want to shed 50 or more pounds than just feeling good. Right? It's not going to motivate you to create the result, because I can feel good tomorrow, but who knows, the next day I might not feel that good anymore, right? So we need to have our brain really hang on to that why. On the other hand, I know many people grab onto the motivation to follow through when they see they have family members that are, that have diabetes, and maybe we are pre-diabetic and we're moving in that direction. And so that's a big why. I got to get my health in order, or else I see what's coming down the road for me. Maybe you've experienced people die too early from heart disease, or maybe you are tired of missing out on your own life, right? You want that back. Your why for the big goal has to be impactful and meaningful to you. And after you make that big decision to turn your health around, you also have to understand that all these little decisions beneath that one big why are so important. They're just as important, and they are your daily decisions, because they stack up on one another, like a up to get you to your goal. Saying I'll start over tomorrow just tells your brain that you don't respect your decisions, and set on repeat, you stay stuck. You feel like you can't control yourself around food, and you feel hopeless, right? So rather than entertaining the thought of just seeing what happens this weekend, why don't you start the process of upgrading your brain? What a little piece of that might look like is simply writing down exactly what foods, the sweets you want to include for the weekend or the day, and look at that and respect what you have decided. And then don't start judging yourself for putting chocolate or chips on your plan, right? Because you're going to eat them anyway, right? So we're not going to just say, I'm only eating carrots and chicken and all these things. No, let's be really honest. What do we want to see happen? What do we think will happen? You're not fooling anyone but yourself if you aren't being completely honest with you. So the most amazing thing is, though, that when you upgrade your brain, you won't plan to eat nearly as much as you would if you decided to just see what happens, right? This is a dangerous word, dangerous sentence. And not because you feel restricted, right? But because you are aware and you are creating respect with yourself and your decisions with food. This is so important. Right? This is what's actually going to go between you following a nutrition plan, losing the weight, gaining it back, to you following through for yourself, learning how to maintain and keep it off, right? This is how you create evidence for next year. And so if we look ahead, do we want to keep doing this? Do we want to keep sabotaging ourselves each Halloween for the rest of our lives, right? If not, then you need to start creating that evidence this year so your brain can shortcut to something that gets you the results that you like. Okay, does that make sense? So why don't you want to just say, I'll see what happens, right? Quick review, because you are damaging your relationship with yourself, creating shortcuts that your brain will keep going back to, and you will stay stuck. And so let's go back. Number 1, I said, how can you enjoy your weekend without going overboard? Well, we want to understand that your brain is wired towards a shortcut. Think about what that shortcut might be leading you to so you aren't surprised, right? Think about last year. Last Halloween is your answer. What happened last year? That's the shortcut your brain's wanting to go to. Okay, so there's no surprises. We already know what's ahead of us. We just got to think back. And number 2, we want to stop seeing what happens. We want to make an actual plan. Lastly, sometimes it can be hard to see what needs to be upgraded and how to do it. So you can effectively stop turning back to the old way of doing things, the old ways of processing information, and creating shortcuts that you don't actually like. And so I want to encourage you, feel free to message me if you know that your system is behind the times, okay? And if you're ready for an upgrade. And just a reminder, okay, so that if you found this information useful and you'd like to think on it some more, to grab my cheat sheet, my cheat sheet by commenting below with your favorite Halloween goodie. All right, and so that's all I have for you. But I'll see you in the next video, and I hope you really do find enjoyment in your weekend and don't wake up to Monday feeling regret. It's possible. You can do it. All right, we'll see you again. Bye.